Hey, what's going on everybody? It's Andy back again from the underground. Today I have a little bit different of a video for you. Today we're taking a look at the Bulletproof Fitness Hex Port Attachments. So there is a 1.0 version as you can see here on the left, and there's a 2.0 version that you can see here on the right. I'm going to be taking you through the differences of them today. Here on screen you can see the Hex Port Attachment 1.0. It doesn't even look like the one that I have. And here you can see the 2.0, which is exactly what I have here on the right side. So back to it over here, you can see that the Hex Port Attachment 1.0 has 4 pressure points that you could turn and have these 2 pressure plates on the side of the Hex Port attachment get tightened. And you're probably sitting there wondering, Andy, why do I even need this thing? So anyone with an isolator, don't buy this if you don't have an isolator, but if you do have an isolator, this thing is primarily used for seated leg curls. So the seated hamstring curls, anytime you need a Hex Port attachment to be flipped upside down, this thing will hold your pad in place. However, there were some issues with the 1.0, and that's why they created the 2.0. As you can see here, I'm going to put it on the small rack that I have here, and it's just mainly to compare the two next to each other. So the pitfalls of the 1.0 is it has 2 pressure plates, and it takes a lot of time to get it really tight so it doesn't move. However, when you want to use the Hex Port attachments, you actually want to flip it upside down so that it doesn't move. Because if you use it in a normal state, as you can see here, and you put the pad inside the Hex Port attachment, the pad is going to go up as you put pressure on it, right? So how it's mainly used is when you flip the Hex Port attachment upside down, it is meant to hold the pad that you're using and use your legs, because when you're doing seated leg curls, you need pressure on top of your legs to hold your legs down so then your legs can move and do a leg curl. So if you're using the 1.0 normally, as you just have it without flipping it upside down, it works fine for like things like seal rows or anytime you need like a seat or a pad. You could probably do hip thrust with the pad itself. However, the 2.0 is such a better upgrade. As you can see here, it's smaller in footprint, and as you can see, the pin of where you insert it into the rack, they're pointing in the same direction. So you're probably wondering, why is that important? Because if you actually flip the Hex Port attachment, the 2.0, upside down, it's not going to have the same issues with the sagging and the movement, because it's the pin and the Hex Port attachment that are facing the same way. So right now, Bulletproof is running a sale on these, on both of them. So the Hex Port 1.0 is $99, and the Hex Port 2.0 is $104.99. That doesn't include shipping. Shipping is probably going to cost you anywhere from like 20 to 30 additional dollars. I'm not sure why. And anyways, so it might be a little confusing on the website, but make sure if you do pick up one of these, get the 2.0. It's not going to say 2.0. It's actually called Hex Port Attachment, I believe. I don't know why they didn't put 2.0 in the title. Maybe they're just trying to liquidate the 1.0 Hex Port attachments. However, the Hex Port Attachment 1.0, the picture of it doesn't even look like the one that you get. And the reason I have this is because I thought you would get the 1.0 picture back then. However, when I ordered this thing, it took a good amount of time to get in. I think it took about like 120 days to get it, because I really wanted to do seated leg curls with my isolator, and that's actually one of my favorite movements on the isolator. However, after getting this 1.0 version, I was pretty disappointed with its performance, because it does the job if you tighten it really hard. However, I don't want to do that every single time, and I feel like you don't need to do that. As well as if you're using like a solo stand or putting the Hex Port attachment and your isolator on the same upright, then you actually would need to do some fiddling because it's actually really hard to put both of them on the same upright, I would say, at the same time. So you'd have to plan it out, put the hex port attachment on first, and then put the isolator wherever right underneath. And the reason why I wanted to get this video out here is because I've actually been talking to a good amount of people with Bulletproof Fitness isolators who also had the same issues with the Hex Port Attachment 1.0, and they had no idea what they were ordering. And now I just wanted to show everyone what you're getting with the 1.0. And here, this is the exact movement that I wanted to do. Oops, I grabbed the wrong leg roller. I'm actually using the self-adjusting roller pad here for my V1, and this is how I like to set up my seated leg curls. Apologies for the socks look, didn't want to give you guys a free show. So here is me setting up the leg curl. I like to use the self-adjusting roller pad to hold my legs down, and I like to use the normal roller pad to do the leg curl. And as you can see here, I'm doing this seated leg curl with the 1.0. You're probably thinking, oh, it's fine, but to me, it's not. When you start putting some pressure on it, like how I like to do my seated leg curls, when you're doing a good amount of weight, you want something to be able to put force on. And here you can see it sags when it flips, and it shouldn't be doing that because the Hex Port attachment, it's literally the main purpose why I got it was for this exact exercise. Alright, now let's get into the 2.0 and the improvements that they have made on it. So with the Hex Port attachment and the pin that goes into the rack facing the same direction, there's actually not a need for me to have to flip the Hex Port attachment upside down, and I don't have to flip my isolator upside down as well. I've never liked doing that in the first place, so I always try to use my isolator as it's intended to. So as you can see here, I don't have to flip it down. I'm using the self-adjusting roller pad, and it creates a lot of force and pressure onto my thighs, so I could do the seated leg curl. I could put a lot of weight on and really get that full range of motion on my leg curl. And I highly recommend the 2.0 version, or in this case, it's just called the Hex Port attachment. And anyways, if you made it this far in the video, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like, comment if you have any questions, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.